Hey everyone, so this is my very first review for season 2 of Shadowhunters. I am super excited. Gerald has joined me. Hello, Gerald. Also, I'm sorry for my voice. I woke up with like a really sore throat for some reason, so it like hurts to swallow. If I sound kind of nasally or anything weird, that's why. Okay, well, let's just get right into the review, shall we? Last night, I didn't rewatch it, but I kind of like skimmed through the episode again so that I could write my notes, so I wrote a whole bunch right here, that way I can like just glance and talk. Alright, so the first note I have is, okay, so we start off with that one scene with Jace on the ship. And it is the same scene that they already gave us in a sneak peek a while ago. So even when I watched that sneak peek a few weeks ago, I had already like felt like it was that Clary that was coming on the ship and telling him to go. It wasn't really Clary, and I was right. Turns out that it was just Valentine, and he was testing Jace, and that's like all he's really been doing since he's taken him onto the ship and he's taken him captive. Basically, he's just been manipulating him and testing him for I don't know if it's loyalty or like his fighting ability or what, but he's just been testing him constantly. And this was the first scene of the episode, and so with this first scene already, I can already tell the difference between like the camera work and the angles, and I really like it. So Jace kills Valentine like twice, and then they end up at the bottom of the ship. I imagine it was at the bottom of the ship, and they find this like downworlder zoo, as fake Clary called it. Then we find out that Clary is not Clary and Clary is Valentine. So then Valentine shapeshifts again, and he tells his like people to tie up Jace, and then they like continue to torture him, and that was painful. And then directly after that is the intro for like the opening thing for the episode, and I really like it. I like how I've said this a couple times, but it shows each traits kind of each character. Like I've noticed Alec's bow and arrow, Luke's badge, Magnus like doing his magic and all that kind of stuff, and it was really cool. So then we come back to the Institute, and Alec is still freaking out. This is another scene that we saw already, but he's still freaking out over Jace and how he hasn't been able to find him and how he's not being able to like connect to him, and he doesn't know where Jace is, so he's freaking out. Parabatai relationships and bonds are my favorite relationships in the entire series. Like in Infernal Devices, I loved reading about Will and Jem more than I loved reading about Will and Tessa and Jem. Not to say that I didn't love Tessa, because she's one of my favorite female characters like ever, but the Will and Jem Parabatai bond, the Jace and Alec Parabatai bond is just, it's so interesting to read because they're just so devoted to each other, and he's basically just like super desperate to find him. Then after that, we get that scene with Clary and Jocelyn, and it's like this whole season seems like it's gonna be the whole like, oh, I'm not a kid anymore, mom. And like I understand where Clary and Jocelyn are coming from. Jocelyn just woke up, she doesn't know, or she hasn't seen everything that Clary has done. Clary is older. That's one thing that I liked about the show that they changed, is that they made Clary and the whole gang older, so it's not just a bunch of like 16-year-olds running around. But yeah, then Clary shows Jocelyn the box and tells her that I saw you like crying over this in your bedroom. And then the following scene is the Malec scene on the roof, and this is where Alec apologizes for kind of snapping at Magnus, and Magnus is just really understanding. Like he is not a shadow hunter and he doesn't have a Parabatai, but he knows love, like kind of taking everything that Alec is giving him, because Alec is not being really cool right now and he's like just snapping and barking at everybody. And like, I mean, it makes sense because he has really good reason to be acting like this way, but that doesn't mean that everybody else needs to necessarily take it. So yeah, like I was saying, Magnus just really wants to help him in any way that he can, and he just really hates seeing Alex so flustered and so desperate and broken. So he, like, Magnus has pain in his eyes also when Alec is acting this way, and Alec just kind of keeps pushing him away. Magnus is like, don't do that. So the next scene is back with Clary and Jocelyn in where they were at, and then Luke and Simon joins them. This is the first time we're seeing Luke. He looked really good in the blue shirt and the holster. He wore that throughout the entire scene, and I was very appreciative of that. Yeah, so then Simon comes, and this is the first time that Jocelyn is seeing him as a vampire, because she goes to like caress his face, and then his fangs come out, and she kind of goes back. And poor Simon, like, he just covers his mouth right away, and like he looks kind of ashamed, and like, oh, yet another person that I love who's like scared of me. And one like detail that I really loved before the scene kind of cut out was that Jocelyn, she kind of like tilted her head and looked at him kind of like endearingly, because yeah, his fangs came out and she was like shocked for a second, but that's still, you know, Simon to her. That's, but throughout this entire like episode and season, probably Jocelyn, I feel like all of her actions are just very motherly actions, and she's constantly the protector. Like, she literally fled the shadow world to save her daughter and left everything behind, and so she is like the ultimate protector. She's always going to do whatever she can, even if she feels that, you know, even if the people that she's trying to protect are capable of protecting themselves. I feel like she's always going to be that person to just like, no, I need to do something to protect you. So that's going to be like a theme of this season, I think, until she kind of like realizes and understands that her kids and Simon and, you know, all the rest of them are capable of like doing things for themselves. Alright, so the next scene is back in the Institute, and it's the one that we already saw. It's when we're introduced to Victor Aldertree. I don't like him. I don't like him right now. They told us that he was going to be a fan favorite, but I don't think that has happened yet, because he is just another like Clave member in the Institute, and that's never really great. Like, Lydia came and she started not ruining everything, but just putting all these unnecessary rules, and then she came around. But then Victor is like another Clave member, and he's just doing his thing, and it's just like messing everything up, and it's really annoying. So then after that, we get the whole scene with another scene with Jace and Valentine on the ship. And so Valentine takes Jace to like that kitchen. He's like making something. That's always creepy when you see like the villain kind of being nice or like doing something for the victim in the situation. It's like creepy to me. I mean, I noticed even with Jace's like body language, he was kind of like holding himself like this in the kitchen, and he saw the knife and he tried to kill Valentine again, which I thought was good, because it showed that Jace is not giving up and he's not being defeated by Valentine, so Valentine can like do whatever he wants to him at this point anyway, and Jace will continue to fight and will continue to try and get out and kill Valentine. So even when he failed at killing him with that knife, he looked kind of broken when he failed, and so I was like, dang, Dom, back at it again with the amazing acting skills. Oh my god, I need to stop. Okay, and then after that was the flashback to the baby injection when Valentine was like injecting Jocelyn, baby pregnant Jocelyn, in the stomach with and I actually laughed out loud because Valentine's hair looked ridiculous. Yeah, I thought that whole scene was really cool, and like how they did it with like the embryos and everything, and how they did all that with the sound effects and everything. I thought that was cool. It was dark, it was creepy, and I liked it, and it was just showing more of the darker elements that this season and show is going to have, because I feel like it's just gonna get darker from here. It's like reminding me of Harry Potter, where it just gets darker and darker and darker every single book and movie, until after this is more of a Malec conversation. And oh yeah, when Magnus is leaving and Alec kind of catches him before he leaves, and Alec, you know, is still trying to be apologetic, but still kind of like barking at Magnus. And I felt really bad for Magnus, because he's just really trying to be there to help. Like, he doesn't have to be. The Shadowhunters discriminate against him, and he's like being there for Alec. Like, he doesn't have to be there, yet Alec is still being the way he is towards him. And like I said, I understand that Alec is going through a really hard time right now. His parabatai is missing, and he like is like in mental and emotional and physical pain because of his missing parabatai and like everything that's happening in the Institute and like the Shadow World and Clave period. But like, Magnus is on his side. He doesn't really have to treat him that way. And so I feel like Alec knows this. He's just being very difficult at the moment because of everything that he's feeling. He's like overwhelmed with all of these emotions, and he knows this. I think he knows this because when Magnus kind of turned around to leave, he like kind of reached out for him. So I think he knows that he's in the wrong, which is why he like eventually apologizes to him. But yeah, apparently after that, Jace dead or alive, that's not something that I appreciate, because no. So that was really uncalled for, Aldertree. No need for that. And then he's like, oh yeah, Clary gave me the final like clue that I needed in order to do this. And I was like, no, you're gonna make Alec hate her more. And then they kick Luke and Simon out, and poor Simon, he's like, I don't have anywhere to go. And so Luke is like, dude, come with me. Obviously, Luke is amazing. He's like one of the best characters on the show. Like, are you kidding me? Also, congratulations to Isaiah Mustafa and his engagement. Did you guys see that video of him proposing? That was the cutest thing ever. Oh my god. Anyways, so right after that is Aldertree, and he's talking to Alec and Izzy because they go after him, and they're like, you can't do this, and he's like, well, I'm the boss, so I can. I was like, I don't like you. And one thing that I do not appreciate is how everybody's constantly threatening Izzy to de-ruin her. I know he was looking at Alec and Izzy, but he looked at Izzy when he said that. I'm like, can we not? Can we stop? Can we stop with this threatening of the de-ruinization? I don't appreciate. We're back with Luke and Simon, and we're back at the Jade Wolf, and they kind of like wink-winked at the climate, and I was like, let's not. Simon with the jokes, with the bold adjacent, that was funny. He's such a dork. I love him. And then Luke leaves, and then the other werewolves kind of like attack him, and Simon, he always puts a smile on my face because Encanto. I was like, what are you doing? This is supposed to do something. I was like, oh my god, he's such a dork. I love him. And one thing that also made me laugh was when they locked him up, and then the super speed looks really cool too. I think they improved it from last season, or they did something a little bit different, but I really like it. I have my photo booth thing open so that I can film myself, and I have my YouTube open right behind it, and all I see is Teen Girl Hitler by College Humor. Let's just scroll up a little bit. Okay, but yeah, so he jumps up to that top canoe, boat, whatever thing, and he lays down like this, and I was like, what? Why you gotta stereotype vampires, Simon? Like, that was funny, that he just like automatically was like, I'm going to sleep like this, because that is what vampires do. So then we're back on the ship, and Valentine basically pulls a Negan, and he burns that dude's face off. Like, he looks like the dude from Batman. He just burns his face off. And just one more thing to add to the trauma list that Jace carries around with him. Because really, in that, like, it was gross, too. Like, did you see the side of his face? It was nasty. I really liked this conversation. Not because it was a good conversation, but because there's just so many parallels to, like, the real world and society that we live in. And, like, reality. Because he's like, yeah, that they can't control themselves. And it just shows more so of how people are afraid of what they don't know. Jace is, like, trying to tell him, like, yeah, I personally know people. I know werewolves and vampires and warlocks who control themselves and who are not, they don't abide by the stereotypes that you were so afraid of. And so it really just shows the dangers of stereotyping and of misrepresentation. And I wrote that I'm like, Valentine and his people are kind of like white supremacists, and like the downworlders are like people of color, like LGBT, or the Clave is kind of like our government, and even more so when, Cheeto Man gets in office. Anyways, and after that is the Clary and Izzy scene, and I was really looking forward to the scene. They already gave it to us, but there wasn't really much extra in the actual show. So it was just a really awesome scene. It was a really cool fighting scene. I really loved Izzy's whip. I want to see that in action during like an actual battle. And I just really liked that, and like the whole the music that was playing during the fight scene and the way it was choreographed. I really liked it. I love fight scenes and I love action scenes, and the show is going to deliver. It's already looking like it's going to deliver. And after that is the conversation with Alec and Maris, and I am so irritated with her. She is just so, I don't want to say like hypocritical, but she's so two-faced. Like, she basically raised Jace. I was basically her son. In the first season, we saw that he was even like the favorite of her kids, and now all of a sudden that he's a traitor. Like, he's not blood, so he doesn't deserve to be a part of us anymore. And I was so irritated with that. And she said that he was like a cancer. I'm like, are you serious? She straight up told him like, oh yeah, just forget about Jace. We have to make hard decisions all the time. Like, she doesn't have a parabatai, and she's not that close to her husband, so she doesn't have a lot of like really personal emotional connections to anyone, and that's kind of her fault. So she's basically telling him to disconnect from this person that is mentally and emotionally and basically physically connected to you. Like, that's kind of impossible for him. So more and more, Alec has always been so dedicated to his mom, right? And so now he's just starting to realize like, no, this is wrong. Like, I can't do what you're asking of me. I can't live for you anymore. And so after that, is where Clary she does like get out of the institute, and she goes to Luke, and it was so funny. He's like, get off my dog. And then Clary is in where they locked up Simon, and it was so funny. I wrote shadow hunting for dummies. I was like, Simon. And Jocelyn comes, and then she locks them in there again with the like overprotection. And so then when they're in there, they're talking, and like their friendship, I love it so much. Like their friendship, their platonic friendship, and they just start laughing, and it looks so genuine. And Kat and Alberto did such a great job with that. I felt like with their like laughing, it felt really real. And then Simon legit almost like confessed to her, and I was like, whoa, scoot, go back a little bit, what? And then the door came down and he wasn't able to, but I was like, oh my god, he was about to confess to her. They run out and they're like trying to find Jocelyn, and there's that Malec scene. This was one of my favorite scenes of the entire episode because we got Magnus's eyes. I was so excited to see Magnus's cat eyes. They look so great. So Alec walks in and I feel like Magnus almost just like let him in, or maybe Alec has a key, I don't know. But we see Magnus for the first time and he has his cat eyes, and I was so excited to see his cat eyes. And so I feel like because he glamored them again, and I feel like it was when he heard Alec walking towards him, and so like we see his eyes, and then the next time we see Magnus's face, he has the glamour over his eyes again. So I was like, huh, that kind of makes it seem like he's not completely comfortable with having his cat eyes, with his demon eyes around Alec. He's afraid of maybe, you know, Alec might discriminate just like his family and the people that he comes from. So I'm excited to see like where that's going to develop. And I also got an idea. I was like, for their first, not for their first kiss, but like another of their future kisses or something, whenever, maybe after the first date, I don't know. It'd be cool for the first time that Magnus shows Alex his eyes. Maybe it's like after they break away and like they look at each other, and then Magnus kind of unglamours his eyes and lets Alex see him up close and personal for the first time. Alex not gonna do anything. He's not gonna run away. So I would love to see like something intimate like that where he just shows him his eyes, because that's like a big deal for Magnus. He glamours his eyes all the time. So I'd want that to be a big deal for him to show Alec his eyes. Alec apologizes, poor child. He doesn't know. He was like trying to be as sincere as he could, and Magnus is just like, yes, and continue. It was great. And I also really appreciated Harry's physique. Like, thank you, Harry, for doing that for us, and probably for himself, but that was very much appreciated. So naturally Magnus forgives him, and then he like goes up to him, and were they like holding arms or something, or Alec was holding his arm, and he kind of fixes his jacket, and I was squealing. I was like, that's so cute. It's the little things. It's the little things and the little details and the little actions that just mean so much, and so I loved it. And then right after that, we have that kind of wide shot of Magnus about to perform his magic on Alec, and he's laying down and he's about to do the thing with his rune, and I feel like a lot of fangirls were freaking out over that because shirtless Alec, but I was like, no, wait, what's gonna happen? So I'm thinking, okay, this is gonna be like the last time where Alec is gonna like start screaming in pain, and it was cool because he does the thing, but then he doesn't have pain. He senses Jace. And then right after that, we see Jocelyn tracking Jace, and she like tries to shoot at him, and I'm like, whoa, basically Daryl Dixon over here with your crossbow. And I kept seeing where I watched it, there were some comments, and somebody was like, why did she shoot her son? I was like, reasons. And so even more so, Valentine is still manipulating him. He's still trying to get into his head. He's like, you won't be able to protect the people that you love. And I was like, Valentine, shut up. I'm going to punch you in the face. I really like the last scene. You know, they keep going further and further away from the books, which I really like. Like, everybody, you all know, if you've been watching my stuff, I have 2 copies of every single book. Like, I love the series, and I love the whole world, but I love the show also. It's great. It's almost even better in some aspects, to be completely honest. Yeah, I'm excited for the day where people can stop comparing it to the book, because it's like, we're in season 2 already. I'm like, get over it. Anyways, yeah, I really like the whole kind of reunion scene where it's like Jocelyn shooting at them, and then she shoots Valentine. I was like, yes, are there gonna be any repercussions for that? Because that'd be great. What if she like lace the arrow with something like poison, or maybe even like a tracker? That'd be cool. Yeah. But anyways, then we go back to the Institute for a second, and Maris and Aldertree are like tracking Jace also, because he's back on land outside of the glamour. And so then Maris, her kids, Alec and Izzy, are being held, and she looks her kids dead in the eye, dead in the faces, and just walks past them. I was like, wow, the betrayal. Also, like, the whole graphics for the vampires looked really cool. That Maria girl, I really liked that actress in that character. She seemed really cool and like feisty. And oh yeah, this happened before all that happened, but when Clary and Simon are running, and Clary's like, run faster, he's like, I'm a vampire, I'm running slow for you. I thought that was funny. Comedy gold. Simon, yes. And I also really like the improvement of the portals. The portals look really cool. It kind of, you know what it kind of looked like, that last scene? You know how in Harry Potter when they apparate, is that the word? Yeah, that is the right word. Okay, so in Harry Potter, you know how when they apparate and it looks like they kind of they go from their size and then they kind of like get small and then disappear. That's what it looked like in the last scene with the portal, which I really liked. It was a cool, it was really cool graphics. Yeah, and then Clary comes up to her mom and is like, "What have you done?" And then it like just stops. And then I have some reactions for the promos for next week and some of the sneak peeks that they released in my reaction for this episode. This is just my review. But yeah, and that was the conclusion of episode 1, season 2 of Shadowhunters. It was a really great episode. It started right where the last season ended. It had a really nice tone for what the entire season's gonna be like, and I'm so excited for the rest of the season. It looks like it's going to be darker and awesomer and just great, and I'm very excited for 2B because of like a certain someone. And so, but yeah, like I said in my reaction, I'm gonna try, of course I'm gonna have reviews every week. I might not have actual reactions every single time, but I'm gonna try and do as many as I can for sure. Like for the premiere, mid-season finale, and finale, I will have ones, and I'll try my best to do as many as possible throughout the season. So yeah, 1 down, 19 to go. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Oh, my voice.